Hey, what's going on, Periscope? It's official. You're in the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone. Yes, you are. Welcome to the 7705 broadcast, you guys. Tonight we're talking about... It's going to get a little technical tonight. What's going on, Periscope? Just a little technical tonight, you guys. Just a little bit. Are you okay with that? We're going to talk about angle of view, your lens's angle of view. And I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to point out some confusion that I saw as I was reading through some of the websites on angle of view and some in the way that they present the information. I'm going to explain it. I'm going to point it out and explain why it's somewhat true, but more confusing. So we're going to do that tonight. Go ahead and I'm going to invite some followers. Let me go on here, you guys. I'm going to invite some followers. Let me go on Periscope. I'm going to go on my own Periscope and I'm going to invite some followers right now. Look, I got a phone right here. And let me see here. I'm going to share the broadcast out on Facebook. Although I'm going to broadcast on Facebook tonight, I'm going to share it on there just in case somebody misses it. And then I'm going to go into my Twitter feed. And let me see here. I'm going to tweet it out. I know you guys are already tweeting it out, but I just love it. Yes. I love it. Welcome, you guys. Welcome. My name is Keith B Dixon. We call this the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone because, you know, it's the Keith B Dixon Zone. I don't know. The community kind of came up with that. And then watch this, you guys. Tonight, we're gonna just cover a whole bunch of stuff. I know we're gonna talk about angle of view, but I got some other goodies for you that I'm gonna talk about, and it's gonna be fun. I'm gonna really simplify this information. Angle of view is important because it helps with sharpness. So that's what we're gonna do tonight. If you see me looking at the camera, most of the time I can't see your comments. And you know what? I'm also on. I'm broadcasting live on YouTube right now. So I'm live on YouTube right this minute. The audio is podcast quality. No way! Come on, for real. You know I've worked. You know I love that. Thank you, Don. I love that, you guys, because I've worked so hard to put this audio. Audio is so complicated, you guys. You have no idea. Especially broadcasting across the internet. So, I'm glad you guys are digging the audio. Anyhow, so I'm doing that dual broadcast, and you guys can go on. You can find my YouTube page. I'm gonna have to get better at putting a link out for there's some stuff I gotta work on, you guys. You know that there's some stuff I gotta work on. But in the meantime, in between time, you guys know I have a podcast. It's podcast.keithbdixon.online. That's where you can find it right there. I missed that last comment. That's where you can find us, right there on the podcast version, you guys, and you can download. I'm going to be updating that tonight. And I'm going to add a new episode, and then I'm going to get on pretty much a weekly schedule for updates, and I'm going to mix it up depending on what people like. Here's what it looks like. I'm going to show you what the podcast actually looks like. So there it is. There's the Keith B Dixon Zone podcast. And I saw some interesting statistics on podcasts. As popular as they are, they don't really stack up against the bigger platforms like Facebook, Twitter. You know, it's definitely, the numbers are really low in terms of interest in podcasts. And surprisingly, I think that's going to change. It's going to edge its way up as the content gets better and people do it a lot more. I think it's going to get a lot better. So there's my podcast. I'm gonna fight it through all the way, you guys, all the way. So I'm going to do it. And if you have iTunes, you can also get this on iTunes as well. So there it is right there. I appreciate you guys listening and downloading. Thank you, Deb. Thank you for putting that up for me. I appreciate it. There's the YouTube channel right there. So if you guys want to watch on YouTube, the quality is, from what I hear, is a lot better, especially if you're watching it on your television. Now, this program right here, you guys, it's a beast. It's a precursor, really, to the mentoring program. And what I wanted to do was, in the mentoring program, I really want to mentor you into progression, which means I don't want to get you into mentoring and then we're struggling behind some of the most fundamental basic photography things because we're going to waste time. It's going to take about 2 years to really get you up to that shooting speed that you need so that you can go out and create great images. And it really takes about, you guys, 4 to 5 years to really perfect something. You're not going to be a master. You could be. Maybe you're an anomaly. I don't know, an outlier. But it's going to take a while for you to really develop into the photographer that you need to be and create the imagery that you need to have. So 5 years is a good mark. And 2 of those years are going to be spent just trying to figure things out. And you know, in the mentoring program, the last thing I want to do is really, you know, go over fundamentals. I will, don't get me wrong, but you're going to get more value out of doing things like, let's say, Keith, I want to do the mentoring program, but I don't know what an exposure is. I'm going to say jump into 90 PT and embrace some of that information. The way it is taught, the way the 90 PT is taught, watch this, you guys. What I do is I present the information, but I present it in a way that allows you to take advantage of the technique regardless of what type of equipment you're using, whether or not you know business. It doesn't matter. It's laid out in a step-by-step fashion that will allow you to take advantage of your present skill set. You guys, we cover marketing, sales, business, social media, lighting, education. It is $290 a month, and I am working on a platform right now that will automatically set up a billing system. I'm working on it right now because I know that $290 is a lot of money for some people. Believe me, I know that. So I'm working on that diligently because I cannot manage a billing, a payment system myself. It's going to be impossible for me to do. So I'm going to be setting this up. The price will be about the same, and we're going to split it up into, you know, like 4 payments. I think I'll have a 4-payment system and a 3-payment system, and you just got to be committed. So there it is right there. All right, you guys. So let me dive over to this other screen here. Let me see names and locations. I want to see who's in the scope. If you're brand new, make sure that you put your city in so that I can see where you're coming from. That's an important thing for me to know where you're coming from. And then we're gonna dive into some information. Get your notepads out. School has started. Commander to Amber from the D, Deb D from the Detroit town. You guys, what up, though? Deborah, what's going on? All the way from Sacktown, you guys. That's what we call Sacramento, Sacktown. What's going on? What's up, Nicole? Glad to see you back. David from Greensboro. You guys are killing it over at PhotoBiz. Love you all day. Glenn, what's going on? Glenn, all the way from Texas, all day. Cheryl from the D, what up, though? Captain Joe, what up, though? Hey, you gotta love Detroit, you guys. You know, in California, they talk about Detroit a lot. My main man, Lamar, what's up, Lamar? Jackie Photog, fashion photographer extraordinaire, killing them dead. There he is right there. Shannon, what's up, Marcus? Our Exposure 101 account, you guys. Hey, Jackie's doing, man. Jackie, keep up the good work. Quit playing. All right, so look here, you guys. Let's dive into some information. And you know, I always like to start with news. I saw something really interesting here. This is my F-Stop It Now. This is a digital daily that I put out, and I got to tell you, it's let me flip the screen here. Let me flip the screen. See, I still do those little rookie mistakes, you guys. This is my digital daily, F-Stop It Now. It comes out at 10:30 Pacific Standard Time, and it's curated. So what I do is I go in. What's up? What's up? Is that Neela? Neela, what's up, Neela? 10:30 Pacific Standard Time comes out, and I curate the content so that you don't have to go to a million sites looking around. You can subscribe here, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Like, I don't really do a lot of newsletters. I may start one day, but I don't really spam or sell emails. Matter of fact, we got email addresses from the conference. You know, should we be emailing people? Yes. Do we do it? No. Right? Everybody knows what it is. We don't got to beat you up on that kind of stuff. But this is important because what it does is it pulls in information and resources for you from a lot of different sites and sources, and it puts it all in one place. And that's why I thought this was super important. Thank you, Deb. Deb is on point. Man, Deb, that's what I'm talking about. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to scroll down and we're going to look at this lens, this Nikon 70 to 300. Unbelievable. They are coming out with a new FX. This is for full frame cameras. If you're a Nikon photographer, a new FX 70-300. Ford is at a 4556. This is mostly a kit lens. I'm kind of shocked, to be honest with you, because for the most part, you can only shoot it in really good light, and it's not that great. Usually they're kind of plasticky, but they made it for the full frame. I'm not sure why, to be honest with you, because anybody with a full frame camera, I don't know. Let me backtrack. Maybe Nikon has done some research, and the research has proven that the 70-300 would actually sell. I'm going to say, as a boot on the ground, I don't know that would be really popular. I don't know. On a full frame, anybody that's buying a full frame camera is probably a semi-pro, a serious hobbyist. They're looking for a 2.8. They're looking for, especially if they're traveling, they're looking for something that's going to work in low light. I don't know. I don't know if this is good business, Nikon. Right? I mean, what do you guys say? Let's take it out there. Let's put it out to the universe. How many people think this would be a good buy and that you would actually buy it? How many people? Let's see a Wi-Fi. If you would buy this lens, if you wouldn't buy it, just put an N in for no. If you would buy this lens, put up a Wi-Fi. If you wouldn't buy this lens, just type in no way, no. Not sure why Nikon did it, right? Like all day. Like, what are they thinking out of all the lenses they could have changed and worked on? A 70-300. Now, you guys know I'm a Nikon photographer, but you know, I got to call it like I see it. Ridiculous. Okay, here's my next article. It looks like it's a 99% no, Nikon, right? Look, after this, they might not ever bring me into the ambassador program. Oh well, oh well. They'd be like, Keith, you know what? We watched one of your broadcasts from 5 years ago, and you were bashing our decision to put out a 70-300. The only thing I can say is I'm sorry. I just had to tell the truth on it. Okay, here we go. Adobe admits Lightroom is slow, says speeding it up is a top priority. Now, you guys know I use Lightroom. I talk about Lightroom a lot. I've been using it for years. It's functional. Are there better programs out there? Capture One, depending if I'm shooting a super major commercial job, I'll use Capture One, and it's just as good. But for the most part, I use Lightroom because it helps me to manage my catalogs. And here's something that I do. 70-300 f2. Now that's, yeah, okay. Hey Lamar, you'd be better off with that one. And then they got a 70-300. Like, it just doesn't make sense. But that is an older one. But the f2, that's a dope lens, by the way. But guys, by the way, I'm like jazz music, so I get, I'm on beat, and then sometimes I like to swerve. We call it a swerve. Sometimes I'll swerve, you guys. No, bridge is still good. Bridge is still good, right? But here's the thing. Lightroom's been slow for years. This is no big secret, right? Once you get a ton of catalogs in there, it just starts to slow down. It's one big old database. And that's what I actually like about it. That's the reason why I use it, is because it's a great database. And what I do is I create a catalog for each job, you guys. I know it sounds crazy. Yes, it is. And that's why I use Capture One. Because it just, when you got that 810 and you need to bring in that monstrous file, you guys, it is like, okay. If you I got the brand new gear right here in front of me, right? You guys, look, you can't see it right here, but I got that old MacBook Pro, the 2017 version, right in front of me here. So I'm cooking with fire, like intense fire. And, you bring in those big files, it's like, wake me up when it's over. So Lightroom has been slow for a while, you guys. So that's nothing new. Here's my solution. Create a catalog for each job. So each single job, I create a catalog. And then what I do is I create a master. Yes. Yeah. You end up wasting time going to sleep, right? I create a master catalog, and then I sync all of those images back in. Once you do that one big sync, because it takes a while, once you do that one big sync and you get all your files in, then all you got to do, if you're looking for something, is I call it a master archive. Just go in there and do it that way. It runs slow, but it works. So that's how I do it. One catalog for each job. Now I know some people are like, oh, that's ridiculous, but you know, within the Adobe world, there's 1,000 ways to skin a cat. All right, let's see what else we got here. If this is this making sense for you guys? Is this that free, full of type of scope that you've come to expect? Is it that broadcast already? Because we're gonna dive in. It's gonna get a little icy in here, so get ready. Okay, here's another one. I thought this was a cool article. You guys, unfortunately, I don't think I'm gonna make this list in any time in the near future, because it's mostly like big brand influencers, people that work for companies that are over marketing departments. So I don't know, unless, you know, the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone grows into something just super spectacularly big. I don't know. Hey, hang on a second, you guys. I got to do a broadcasting no-no. Hold on. Can you guys still hear me? Put in a Wi-Fi if you can still hear me. Throw in a Wi-Fi if you can still hear me. Oh, hey, this mic is picking up, huh? All right. There's all kind of little small details in the broadcast. All right. So I'm not sure that I would actually make it to this list. And I don't even know any of these people on here. But it just talks about brand influencers. But here's what I thought was interesting. When you look at business to business versus business to consumer, look at who's in the lead. Facebook, Twitter. You guys, Facebook, Twitter, a networking site and a microblogging site is leading the way. Think about that. A networking site. Facebook is a networking site. Yep. It's not a site for selling. Well, people sell on it, but it's really it was designed as a networking site, an information-based site. And it's funny because I was doing a little research and I found an old PowerPoint slide where they were actually trying to pitch Facebook to investors, and I actually went through and read all the slides. It's like night and day from where they started to where they are now, like completely night and day. It started out as this college. They were going to target all the Ivy League schools, network them together so that people can see all the professors and all the resources, places that people in Ivy League schools eat, and look where it is now. So that's a real story. Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, which is also a networking site. LinkedIn is a social networking site. Pinterest is stepping up their game. So if you guys, you'll notice that I do post on Pinterest, and I have it sectioned off. So I do post on Pinterest. I just rarely talk about it. Even Google's on there. Your blog, which is, for most of us, my blog is like crying. Like, I think my blog is probably worse than my YouTube page, but that's okay. Right, we're working on it. And then it just kind of drills on down. So that should give you an idea for business to business and what's happening. So if you're a business and you're trying to get out of business, might be a good article for you to read. But here's what's happening here. 97% of all marketers use social media, and they use all of these platforms. And in 2018, I'm going to be talking about how you use these platforms, why you would use these platforms, and save you some time from wasting your time, because you can easily do that. And what do the experts say? What do the experts? You know, this is so funny. I got it. We're going to be here a little bit, you guys, but let me ponder a little bit. Social media landscape is moving from a free model of mixed. Is moving from a free model to a mix of free and paid. It is also free and paid. Ooh, this is an expert. It is also becoming more mobile centric with sharing of content. Okay, now I have to agree with that. It is. And it's going to become all paid in a minute. You're going to be cut off, kind of thing, from the world. So you guys jump on whatever you got to jump on right now. And then, so I'm going to say that's a pretty accurate statement, and that's the way I would see it too. The free stuff is going away slowly, and that's just good business. Let me see with this guy, Michael Kohler. I think the way we communicate with our followers will change a lot and have a lot to do with video, basically, especially live streaming. It's kind of hard to see this, you guys. This is definitely live streaming. Video is here now, for real. So start working on how you're going to present yourself to the world in some form of fashion in a video. Maybe not, I don't know. But if you plan on going into business, the thing that I would recommend you do is try to find a way to create broadcast content, because that's where it's going. It's just more effective. All right, you guys. I guess that's going to be enough of that. Well, I got one more for you. Since we're talking about broadcast content, April or August 2nd through the 4th, August 2nd through the 4th, I'm going to be at Vlog Summit, Business Vlog Summit. If you are trying to jumpstart your YouTube, because I think this is going to be focused towards creating and distributing content on YouTube, I know April's going to talk about that strategy. You probably need to be here, because not only are you going to get the information, they're going to show you how to implement it. This is an implementation workshop. And to be honest with you guys, I've been kind of in the workshop game for a long time as a consumer and also as a photographer, that you rarely see these. These are hard to pull off. And if they can do it, I got to tell you, they're going to set people off, you know, on a good foot. So I'm on the panel here, full disclosure, I'm on the panel. And one of the reasons why I decided to do it was because of the word implementation. We're going to tell you, show you, and help you do it. It's just that simple. So the tickets are fairly inexpensive compared to a lot of these conferences I see. Holy smokes, $1,500, $2,000. I mean, they are going in. But here we are, $297, and I think she even has a payment plan. They include breakfast. It's in old Las Vegas. You can get a room for about $39 a night if you do it the right way. Because look, you're not going to be there to sleep. You're going to be there to work. So as long as it's safe, you can do it. All right, you guys. And then here I am. There's some good people. These are some good presenters, you guys. They're not fluffy. I'm not, I'm kind of excluding myself, but you know, birds of a feather flock together. Ruben Arana, he's going to be one of the panelists, and Ruben is a trained artist, like really a trained artist. This guy can go from 0 to 1,000 on a blank canvas. So he's the real deal, you guys, and he's a diehard broadcaster. So there we go. All right, let's talk about something really complicated now. Now I'm gonna show this right off the website, because at first I was gonna download the image, but I'm always thinking about copyright, you guys. But we're gonna talk about angle of view tonight. And if you're not familiar with angle of view, right, it's kind of laid out like this: angle of view, and it's just kind of in a simple sense, it is what your lens can see at a particular at two angles, a left angle or three angles, so center, left, and right. Or we call it AOV. And here's how it looks. Here's how it looks. And let's say you have a little doggy, right? Or a big doggy, doesn't matter. And the dog is really close to the camera. You notice how big the dog is? If you're shooting a wide angle lens, the dog is going to look even bigger. Now, I'm pointing this out because typically when we make photographs and we use wide angle lenses, even a 24 to 70, or, you know, we're shooting at 35, we are oblivious to the distortion that's going on at that particular framing. We don't pay attention to it because it's really hard to see, believe it or not. If you don't have any borders or edges, you can't really see the barrel cushioning or the pin cushioning or the barrel distortion that's going on inside the frame. It's impossible to see until you get home and you look at it and you'll be like, that looks kind of funny. That hand looks kind of big. Matter of fact, you notice how I'm putting my hand up to the camera? Look at the distortion here. My hand is just as big as my face, but when I put it back here, it gets really small. You see that? So you have to know that when you're making a photograph, the closer your subject is to the camera, right, the more it's going to affect the angle of view. Now, that's just how much you can see. Now, if you're really close, you're going to see a lot, like right here. But if you're not, if you're far back, you're going to see a lot smaller. Some people say this is compression, but it's really not. It's just angle of view. Nothing is getting compressed. It's just the angle. It's a sharper angle, and it's making the image look smaller. Technically, from a definitional standpoint, maybe we could call it an angle or compression, because it is, the image does look compressed, but it's just magnified differently. So I don't like to use that term compression. Those angles are measured in degrees. So you have 80 degrees, 50 degrees, a 20-degree angle. So a 20-degree angle would be super tight. An 80-degree angle would be super wide. And you can look up the definitions on this stuff. But I wanted to show you a visual, because when your subject is in the middle, and this is where this is really important, you guys. When your subject is in the middle, it looks normal. And if you look at the graphic, it says normal. And it's as normal as is normal to the eye. So when you're creating your photographs, you should be super conscious of what looks normal to the lens. Unless you're intentionally trying to distort it, be careful. So you want to line them up somewhere in the middle. That looks like that might be about 4 feet from the camera, the back of the camera plane, and you should know about the camera plane. And then here's another one that kind of shows you more of the degree right here. It's a little blurry. Let me see if I can get another one. Okay, here's a good one. This is a really good one right here. So at 15 degrees, so if you're shooting a 15 degrees, if you're shooting a 15 millimeter lens, it's going to be 109 degrees. If you're shooting a 20 millimeter lens, that angle of view is going to be 94 degrees. And what it looks like, 94 degrees like this, right? It's measuring 94 degrees this way, and then it gets tighter. And as you see, it gets tighter when we get down to like 300. Remember that crappy 300? I'm sorry, I didn't say crappy. I didn't mean to say that. Sorry. You know that 300 kit lens, the ones, they're usually plastic. That's 70 to 300. That's your. You see how tight it is? It's like an 8-degree diameter, or not diameter, angle of view. Is this making sense for you guys? Is this making sense? Put in 3.3. 3.3 if this is making good sense for you. 3.3. If you guys are just tuning in, my name is Keith B Dixon. I'm just a photographer, that's all. I'm just a photographer. That's all. No, this is real. This is real deal. When you understand, I'm gonna tell you why in a second. Photog. Yeah, this is you're gonna apply this. I'm gonna tell you why and how. Here's the deal. If you're making landscape images and you're using a really big f-stop number, like 16, hopefully you got the lens for it. You're gonna have hopefully you're using something wide because you want to capture. Well, part of that wide angle of view, you're going to get good coverage minus an acceptable amount of out of focus from the camera plane out to about 3 or 4 feet. This is when we start getting into hyper focus, and then out from 3 or 4 or 4 or 5 feet out to infinity. And what happens is when you have a wide angle of view, you minimize the amount of blurry image that you have in your photo. So when you go for the enlargement, you know that a certain amount of your image is going to be out of focus. You can just totally crop right there, and the whole image is going to be sharp from edge to edge. That's provided that you're using maybe a full frame professional camera. So there's a lot of other variables that I'm not mentioning, but that's why you're going to be concerned with the angle of view. And also, the angle of view is going to help you to understand how your distortion will start to develop as well. Most of the time, distortion starts at around 28, you guys, 28 millimeters. You start to get what's called barrel distortion. And so that 28 would be about 75 degrees. So if you knew, if you had a lens and it was worn out, it didn't have any millimeters on it, right? But it had 75 degrees on it, or you read something where it said this lens is 75 degrees, you would know that it was pretty close to a 28 millimeter framing. So this is real deal. I use this, I think about this a lot in terms of doing architectural interiors and landscapes, especially for print. So that's where it becomes a factor. All right. Now I want to talk about something, and then we're going to dive out of here. I want to talk about something I saw that was kind of confusing. And if I didn't know, what I know, I would be confused. And I would always ask myself, why are people so confused about aperture? This is a good example why. So I went to this website. It's called aphototeacher.com. And there was some really good stuff on here that I actually liked. And by the way, if you get a lens and it's got f32, f45, and f64, don't buy it. Don't believe the hype. Right? You're going to make an image at those f-stops. It's going to be complete garbage. Matter of fact, you might have to use bulb to even get an exposure because the hole is so small. Diffraction, chromatic aberrations. I mean, I don't know. If you got a medium format, then you're probably rocking and rolling. But anyway, stop down. Decrease the size of the lens opening. That's when you're stopping down, right? To allow less light to reach the film plane. Okay, that's fair game, but that could be a little confusing. So I like to put people on big numbers and small numbers, because when you understand big numbers and small numbers, you can understand how the aperture's opening and closing a lot better, especially under pressure. This, when you explain it the way that we're going to see right here, it doesn't work well for newbies, especially people that don't totally understand it. Under pressure, it does not work well. They get confused. And matter of fact, you end up making like 50 different types of exposures, as opposed to reciprocal exposures, or exposures that that work in tandem, so that you get, and I know this is going to get a little deep right here, so that you get good exposure value numbers. Exposure value numbers. Exposure values are numbers that are equal to a combination of exposures, but there's some parts of that exposure that remain constant, like depth of field or ambient light. So watch this, you guys. This is where it's going to get a little confusing. The area between the nearest and farthest points from the camera that is acceptably sharp in an image. Now, remember I was telling you about 4 to 5 feet is going to be out of focus. That's going to be pretty normal. Let's take this top one. Okay, we're looking good here. We're looking good here. And then we're going out of focus. Without even reading the bottom, I know that this is shallow depth of field, because we have foreground focus. We have, if we just concentrate on this, we have foreground focus, and then the image is going to start to go out of focus right here. So we really don't have that much background focus. Our background is going to be out of focus here. But if we just concentrated on this area, we could have foreground focus, middle ground, and background with shallow depth. That's a reality, but that's not the way it works. We're basically out of focus, in focus, out of focus. There's the sharp area right here. This is going to be somewhere around 2.8, 1.4, whatever the case may be. Now, right here it says large depth of field. Large aperture. Look at this. Large aperture, i.e. 1.4. So this information is saying a large aperture is equal to 1.4. How many people would agree with that? How many of you agree with that? Is that true or false? I want you to put in T or F if you believe this is true. T or F. And if you're watching me on, if you're watching me live on YouTube, you can just pop it into the chat. T or F. How many people believe that that first statement is true? Who else wants to take a stab at it? True. True. missed it. Okay, here's what's interesting and what's confusing about this. When you say large aperture, if I was this, is f16 a large aperture? Yes or no? Yes. There it is right there. Captain Lamar all day. F16 is a large number. So when you see large aperture, someone who's trained properly who would say f16. But they've got shallow depth of field here. And large depth of field means that we can see a lot. Large depth of field means that we can actually see a lot. This is shallow depth of field. Now, I'm going to make sense of this for you right now. I'm going to tell you that to some people, this is how it makes sense. Based on the 1.4 aperture, from the front to the back, we have what's called a large depth of field within that shallow 1.4 aperture. And then guess what? The large aperture, they're referring to the actual opening inside the lens. It's large, it's open, it's letting in a lot of light so that we can create this image right here. That's how they're reading this. And that's confusing, because we can't think of large openings. Let me get the medium opening, please. Can you dial in the 3/4 opening to the lens, please? No, it doesn't work that way. Can you dial in f16? Can you go 2 stops down? Can you go 2 stops up? That's how we talk about it. So that's what makes this confusing. Right? So when I'm teaching photography and I'm instructing students, I get them on the fact that the f16 is a big number and f2.8 is a little number. And once you learn that, you can never be confused with information like this, because you know that f16 is bigger than 2.8. Now, all you got to do is step away from that and say, f16 is a small opening. I'm going to get depth of field because I'm letting in less light. Because remember, the more light you let in, the less you can see. That's physics. No one can argue with that. The more light you let in, the less you can see. That's like somebody turning on a headlight and blinding you. It is very confusing, and that's why a lot of people, this is published information on the internet that is completely wrong. Well, it's wrong, because when you're under pressure, this is going to confuse you as a newbie. Now check out the next one, because I had to read this about 5 times and really think about it, because I'm thinking, like, what are they talking about? Look at this. Look at the second one. Okay, same thing. The second dog is in focus, and they're calling that a shallow depth of field. Now I couldn't figure out a good possible explanation for how that could be shallow, but both those dogs are in focus, and I don't know why that would be shallow. Yes, that's right. That's exactly right, Lamar. And then check out, they're calling f16 a small aperture. They're calling f16 a small aperture. That is not possible, you guys. It's a small opening inside the lens, but we're not looking inside the lens. We're looking on top of the camera, and if we're using a manual lens, we're looking on top of the lens. We can't see the opening. We can't see the hole. And if you can dial in a perfect, if you can reach inside your lens and dial in the perfect aperture at f8, 7.1, 6, call me up ASAP. Call me up ASAP. I need to see that lens, and I need to see you do it. So, because we need to know each other. We're going to get rich if you could do that. Not possible. Not possible, you guys. So this is a great example of misinformation right here, and this is important for you guys to know. I know, right, Barry? Like, it's ridiculous. So this is pretty much how lenses work. They talk about focal length. I tried to look for the date on this. I didn't see one. I thought this was really interesting too, you guys. These are I forgot the name already. So, okay, rail cameras. So in architectural photography, when you have like tilt shift lenses, these rail cameras are large format cameras. This is where you're going to get f64 and 32. F16 would be like shooting, matter of fact, a wide angle lens on here would be like 85 millimeter. So that you're going wide with an 85 on a camera like this. And what it's doing is you can correct everything in camera with these rails and view cams. So I thought this was really interesting too, because when you look through here, you see this, but when it comes through the lens sees that. I thought that was kind of interesting in terms of viewfinders. But you guys, I got to tell you, just nuts, right? So I wanted to take you to a correct page. I didn't get the difference here. So now I'm on slrlounge.com. Aperture Guide Part 2, Shallow and Deep Depth. I didn't get this because these images both look shallow to me. One looks like it's just a little bit more in focus than the other, but they look about the same. I don't know if that was a mistake there, but here's a definition of shallow focus. This is sharp in focus, and then we fall out here. So it starts, we lose focus. So they're shooting 2.8, maybe, I don't know. I'm just going to say 2.8 because they want to isolate. And then here we have deep depth of field where we can see everything in focus. All right, you guys, there it is. Has this been one of those free full of value scopes, you guys? Let me know. Has this been one of those free full of value scopes? One of those kind of scopes that get you thinking like, this photography stuff, man, I can't believe everything that I read. That's all I'm saying, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Keith. If you just jumped in, maybe you're watching a replay, Keith B Dixon. It's official, you guys. We are in the Kilo Bravo Delta zone all day, every day. This is how we rock. You always gotta think with the third eye in terms of what you see. And if you don't know, right, and then you're presented with something and it sounds like it's coming from a creditable source, you're gonna take it at face value. I'm gonna tell you, for me, I try to research everything as much as possible so that when I'm on here, I'm giving you guys the most accurate information, because I know a lot of you say, I heard Keith say, and that's when we open up the can of worms, right? So I gotta know what I'm talking about. Gotta research it. And I really take that seriously, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Joe, on the YouTube side. Thank you. I appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I'm gonna go over to Facebook Live probably around 10 o'clock tonight, somewhere around there. 10 o'clock, I'm going to broadcast. I know, right? It's all my fault, right? See, I got to be ready for that too, because sometimes I'll watch the broadcast back and I was like, oh, I completely messed that up. It's too late to take it back. That's what happens when you're doing it live, you guys. So I'll be broadcasting on Facebook and Facebook Live. So I'm going to basically go back and regurgitate all of this information that I've just shared with you guys. So if you want to join me on there, you're more than welcome. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. I will talk to you later, and I will definitely, if not later, I'll see you in the Kilo Bravo Delta Zone 7:30-35, you guys, tomorrow morning. Let's go. Thank you for tuning in. Hasta luego.